Do you believe that there are witches among us? For centuries, witches have been feared and persecuted. Hundreds of thousands of handmaidens of the devil and heretics were burned at the stake during the Inquisition. And in England and in New England, they were hung. I'm Lara Parker, and I played Angelique, the witch on Dark Shadows. And what better place to search for a witch than in Salem, Massachusetts, where I've come to do research for the new Dark Shadows novel. This is the Salem Witch Museum, one of 11 museums dedicated to witches in Salem. And inside you can see a dramatic presentation which tells the story of the Salem witch trials. 3 young pre-adolescent girls began to fall into fits, to choke, and to crawl around on all fours. The doctor came and said that they had been bewitched, and they were asked to name their tormentors. Before they had finished, more than 200 innocent souls were in jail, and 20 were tried for witchcraft, found guilty, and hung. We might not find any witches in this, the old burying spot, although this would make a great hanging tree. Some of the gravestones here go back to 1673. So you can know that there were ghosts here, and there still are on a moonless night. But no ghosts of witches are here, because a witch could never be buried in hallowed ground. The witches were buried where they were hung on Gallows Hill. And sometimes human limbs would be exposed by heavy rains. It's hard to imagine a life in a pioneer village being as harsh, unrelentingly drab as it must have been. But one of the realities of that life was that the devil was present in the woods.
Then tell me why you were walking alone in the woods.
I told you I do not know.
There is something about the woods that fascinates you, that draws you to them. Isn't that right?
I have never thought of it in that way before.
Perhaps there is someone you go there to see.
No.
Someone like the devil himself.
Oh, no.
The settlers lived with unrelenting fear of the devil, and the ministers preached that he had come to the New World and followed the Puritans to Salem. They believed that he walked in the woods and that he asked the Puritans to sign his book and serve him. As a result, many misfortunes were attributed to witches. The death of a cow, or worse, of a child. Witches were behind all of that. This beautiful old homestead belonged to Rebecca Nurse, the 71-year-old matriarch and the mother of 8, one of the most pious women in all of Salem Village. On March 19, 1692, the hysterical girls accused her of witchcraft, and she was hauled away by the constable. She said to them, "I am as innocent as the unborn babe." Nevertheless, she was found guilty, hung as a witch, and her body is buried somewhere on this property. Since I've come to Salem to do research for the new Dark Shadows novel, what better place to come for inspiration than the House of Seven Gables? This book was written by Nathaniel Hawthorne, 19th century romantic novelist who also wrote Twice Told Tales and The Scarlet Letter. He added the W to his name out of shame because he was descended from one of the original judges in the Salem witch trials. This is the oldest mansion in Salem, built in 1668, if you can believe that. And it has a hidden staircase, just like Dark Shadows. It's interesting to see that even witches celebrate Christmas. And this is the perfect store for the fledgling witch, the cat, the crow, and the crown. And it's owned by Laurie Cabot, who is probably Salem's most famous living witch. She's written a series of books on the power of the witch, and she's put together freshly made incense, which you can either burn or carry in a little pouch. Here's one to keep away psychic vampires, to keep them from stealing your dreams, your lovers, or your good works. Erase those memories that haunt you. One of dozens of beautiful incense that she's put together. And here we have something familiar, a poppet doll. This reminds you of Angelique. Comes complete with pins.
I'm going to make you pay, Barnabas, for turning away from me. But not through Josette this time. There is someone else you love. Little Sarah. Your dear little sister. You are going to watch her suffer, Barnabas. And seeing her suffer will be the worst agony you have ever known.
Here is the crown of the cat, the crow, and the crown. Some beautiful crowns. Oh, talismans, chalices, wands for casting spells. Beautiful shop. So this is Jason Solnier, who is a witch and who works here at this shop. Perhaps you can tell us what witches in the modern day believe in. What is the pentagram?
The pentagram is actually, if you hold it, it's supposed to be point up. It means earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. And the circle is total intelligence and the god and goddess surrounding us. As you can see, it's the head, 2 arms, and 2 feet. And that's us within the god and goddess.
In the safety of the circle.
Yep, and it's also a symbol of protection.
What's that thing right there?
Pentagram.
And with the 2 points downward.
Someone here, long, long ago, needed protection too.
Do witches cast spells?
Always.
They do?
Always. Every day, I usually, if I'm not casting a spell here, it's at my altar at home. A spell can be either a thought or prayer, as we call it.
Yes.
It's a simple projection, like I wish someone luck, or I ask to be plentiful today and energized, and ask that the gods and goddesses be balanced upon me, and to be protective, and that's a spell.
But you also believe that anything you do comes back to you 3 times over, right?
That's
so
right.
If you do good, it comes back 3 times over, and the same with evil.
That's right. That's why witches never, ever do evil.
Never do evil.
It comes right back on you. There's no point to it.
Well, what can I say?
Victoria Winters, you are in my power now, and I will never release you from my spell. For if you should live, Barnabas would love you, and he will never have the woman he loves.
This is Tony and Marie Guerrero, and they are the high priest and high priestess of this coven, and they've agreed to answer some questions for us. Why do you think that there is so much emphasis on witchcraft in Salem?
Well, I think there are many reasons. I think, first of all, people flock to Salem because they think that there were witches hung here when, in fact, actually they were God-fearing Christians.
Yes.
So people come in search of the mystery of these witches, and actually there are modern-day witches here that really do practice the religion and faith of witchcraft, versus the Christians who were put to death in the name of witchcraft. And also, we have many practicing witches that have come here, our elders in the craft, who have kind of set a path, if you may, for practicing our religion very openly. In Salem, we can walk down the street in our ritual robes and cloaks, and it's very well accepted. So I think that's part of the reason.
So it's interesting that in 1692, there were Christians put to death for practicing witchcraft when they did not practice it.
But today, you are free to practice it.
Yes.
But not only in Salem. And I see there's a lot of healing in your ceremony. This is something that comes from the power that is present during the ceremony.
It is, and it's from the power from within and manifesting. It's like an old saying, physician, heal thyself, witches are natural healers. And that's one of the things that we work very closely connected with.
And many of the people that were labeled witches in the beginnings were actually the first midwives or healers of the community.
Do you mean to say that you think it was that herb tea that cured Sarah?
I only know what happened. After the child drank the tea, she began to feel better.
Don't you think it's strange that a simple servant girl can accomplish what doctors of medicine fail to accomplish? What other powers do you have?
None.
Perhaps someone who can restore someone's health can also take it away.
Why would such a person be suspect?
For a lot of reasons. There could be any number of reasons, even to the point where it got to be actually a conspiracy after a while.
Right.
There were rewards. If somebody was found guilty, they would get their land. The land would be split between the government and the people that did it. It was a surefire way to get rid of that person that you didn't care for too much.
So I'm practicing witchcraft. And who have you been talking to? Lamar Trask?
Just Trask. The town's talking about it. They know he always wanted my farm.
I've made it no secret. And I would still like to buy your farm, not steal it.
When, if you're right, you could have put a spell on him very easily.
So, you admit it?
Don't be a fool, Grimes.
You, my dear brother, get out. Gladly.
The veterinarian said there was nothing wrong with my herd. That they all died. He told me to keep them on my own property or you'd have to do something. And you did it.
Grimes, I'm telling you, I had nothing to do with the death of your cattle.
On June 10th, Bridget Bishop was hanged in Salem, the first official execution of the Salem witch trials. But the trials were not unopposed. By early October, after 20 people had been executed in the Salem witch hunt, Thomas Brattle wrote a letter criticizing the witchcraft trials. This letter had a great impact on Governor Phipps, whose elegant wife had been named by the girls, and who ordered that reliance on spectral and intangible evidence would no longer be allowed in trials. On November 25th, the General Court of the Colony created the Superior Court to try the remaining witchcraft cases, which took place in May of 1693. This time, however, no one was convicted, and the dark chapter of the Salem witch trials was finally closed. In writing my new Dark Shadows novel, The Salem Branch, Barnabas goes back in time in 1692 and witnesses the trial of a real witch, an important character in the novel, Miranda Duval.
Your name was once Miranda, wasn't it? Your name was once Miranda. Your name was once Miranda.
Miranda. How long it's been since anyone called me that. Almost 150 years.
Do you want your neck on the block?
No!
Do you want to rot in hell?
No, no!
Will you stand with God? Will you stand against Satan? Will you, Miranda? Will you?
Yes. Yes. I command you to come and burn. Burn. Burn.
Victoria Winters!
Doesn't he stop?
Answer the summons of the powers of light! Answer! Come forth! Answer!
Burn! Burn!
Help!
Burn!
Fire! Fire! Somebody help! Everybody run! Help!
The powers of darkness are conquered now! The powers of light are triumphant!
Let me go!
Down, witch! Down on your knees!
Down, down, down into the dust!
I'm again!
I have the witch! I have the witch!